Jazzcast Pros.
Hey there, my graceful grinders, totally uniquers, and C-suite sisters. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met a leader who looked like they had it all together? I mean, she was charismatic, she was polished, she was confident in the spotlight, but only to find out later that behind closed doors, it's a completely different story. Maybe you've been that leader. I know I have. Welcome to the Grace and Grind podcast. This is Dr. Pamala Brown-Grinion, your C-suite executive coach. And today we are going to be talking about wholeness as the new standard for women leaders. I have created a new program and I want to give you just a little taste of it today. And then you can connect with me to delve a little bit deeper into the wholeness of yourself. So let's get into it. There was a time in my own journey where the image I presented to the world was strong and unshakable and in control. But in private, I was actually very exhausted. I was questioning myself. My imposter syndrome was at an all-time high. My self-confidence was low. My self-esteem was low. I was juggling titles and positions, but I was also quietly carrying wounds that nobody saw. And here's the truth about it. Living with that kind of double life is exhausting. It's like experiencing cognitive dissonance all the time, 24/7, every day of your life because you're so misaligned. I want to talk to you today about aligning your inner and outer worlds. What do I mean when I say alignment? Well, I mean your public leadership image matches your private reality. There are no masks. There are no falsehoods. There are no pretenses. You are on one accord with yourself, your values, your decisions, how you think, how you speak, your behavior are all the same. And it doesn't matter if you're in the boardroom. It doesn't matter if you are hanging out with other leaders. It doesn't matter if you are in your home. It's about living one life, one accord, meaning that your life is not a stage that you perform on, and your reality is not your backstage life. You are living your most authentic life regardless of your contextual setting. Now, what does that mean? Because I know when some people say show up authentically, that means that you are the same everywhere. That's not what I mean. I mean that the core elements of you, the foundational stones of you, the essence of your character and who you are is the same, regardless of where you are, because you certainly do have to code switch into those contextual settings. Meaning, when you are at work and you're meeting with the other C-suite executives, then you are going to be quite on top of your game, right? You are going to be the most impressive that you can be. You are going to be showing up in full effect because that's what being in that setting calls for. However, when you are at home, you are still authentically yourself, meaning your character and your essence and all that stuff that represents you. It's still there. However, you can take a more laid back approach. Okay. So you don't switch, you don't code switch on values. You don't code switch on the way you make decisions. You don't code switch on your behavior. You code switch on or with the person that you show up as, depending on your contextual setting. Okay. You're still you, but you just have to be appropriate for that particular setting. Okay. Now, why does this matter in leadership? It matters because when you are aligned, you show up from a place of authenticity. People will trust you when they know that you're authentic. I know sometimes people think that they are so good at showing people their representative and who they want people to see. They think that they have that so down that people can't see them. Let me tell you, people can see when you are being authentic, when you're being a copycat, or when you're being disingenuous. People can pick up on those vibes, okay? But when you're being authentic, people feel safe with you. And you can tell that people are safe with you by the way they respond to you, by the way they respond to your requests. They don't have to wonder which version of you they're going to get today based on where you are. They know that who you are is who you are. Your character is your character. The way you make decisions is going to be sound no matter what. They're not going to be made based on how you're feeling, right? They're going to be based on facts. They're going to be based on truth. They're going to be based on reality. Okay. So when people trust you, they will show up for you in a totally different way. Okay. They will meet you where you're meeting them. And that's basically what it means to align your inner and outer worlds. You can't be one person when you're in front of your peers and then somebody else where you're just a total wreck. You're a mess. You are not making decisions properly. Your values are not the same values. You are so disconnected from yourself that people won't even be able to recognize you if they visited you or had a magnifying glass or a window into your home. It would be like, who is that person? Right? So we don't want to live like that. We want to live from our authentic space. Now, again, let's go back to why this matters in leadership. Because when you constantly switch between personas, you can't keep track of it. You can't follow who you are or what you've said or how you behaved because it's not real. It's not you. And people can only keep up those charades for a short period of time. Eventually, the real you will stand up and eventually the real you will be exposed. So it's a best practice to just show up authentically with who you really are, with your character intact. Now, what is the cost of this misalignment that I've spoken about? Well, it's when there's a gap between who you are publicly and who you are privately. And when that happens, when you're home, you feel drained. While you're at work, you feel drained. Why? Because you're misaligned. You're fighting against your natural grain. Your authentic self wants to show up with this character intact, with this decision making intact, with your communication and how you present yourself, your conduct, all on one accord. When you are misaligned, you burn out faster. And sooner or later, those contradictions are going to show up because you just can't keep that up. So it behooves you to just show up as your authentic self the first time. Your first impression that you're creating is one of who you authentically are. Not only does it erode your energy when you're misaligned, but it can damage relationships, both professionally and personally, because people can feel when something's not matching up. I want you to really think about it when you know someone was being fake and phony and not who they really are. Or when you really know someone and you have seen behind their curtain, like you really know them, and then you see them out in public and it's like, oh my God, who is that person? Because you know how they really live behind closed doors. Isn't that so disappointing? For me, it is. It's so disappointing when I know I've seen behind the curtain and now it's like I'm looking at the Oz, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. And I know that it is fallacy and facade. It's so disappointing, and you can't keep that up. And just imagine what happens to those relationships when you damage them. Imagine what happens to your relationship equity with that person that you've spent so much time trying to build this credibility with, and then you demolish it by being disingenuous. Now, I want to tell you how to identify when you're out of alignment. When you leave those public settings and you feel drained, not energized, I mean, totally exhausted and wiped out, it's because you've been behaving in a way that's disingenuous. You have been acting and it is tiring. You have been putting on airs. You have been wearing a mask, and you're fighting against the very grain of who you are. And that is exhausting because cognitive dissonance is draining. Another way is when you can identify that when you make decisions in private, you never defend those decisions in public. You want me to say that again? When your private decisions are totally different from your public decisions. When you know it's something that you wouldn't defend in private, but you're defending it in public, misaligned. When you live with low level fear all of the time because you're afraid of being found out, misaligned. When your values seem to shift depending on who's in the room, you are so misaligned that you have fooled yourself. You have fooled yourself because you know that that's not who you really are. But you put up these fronts and these airs because you're trying to be impressive with the people that are in the room. Well, let me tell you, they see you. They see you and they're whispering because they see you. If any of these things sound familiar to you, then I am challenging you to join me for a personal reset. So let's talk about some practical steps to bring you back into alignment, which will be part of your personal reset. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is a self-audit. I mean, ask yourself regularly, am I the same person everywhere I go? Now, that's not to say that you don't code switch contextually, because you do, but the core foundation of who you are is the same regardless of where you are and who you're with. So do that self audit right now. Ask yourself, am I the same person everywhere I go? And if you're not, if you have said, no, I'm not, you identify that you are all over the place with the way that you show up, I want you to just ask yourself, what is my authentic representation and what is my authentic presentation? Representation and presentation. Okay. And then I want you to have some character building built into this realignment. What do I mean by that? You need to clarify your values. Write down your top 5 core values and keep them in front of you whenever you're making decisions. If you are not making decisions based on your core values all the time, then something is wrong. Now, for me, mine is based on the acronym RAPID. That means I'm going to be responsible, I'm going to be accountable, I'm going to be passionate, I'm going to operate with integrity, and I am going to be disciplined, diligent, and determined. Those are my core values. And I don't have to put them in front of me because I operate from that premise. I know what they are. I can spit them back to you anytime you ask me, Pam, what is your clarifying values that represent the acronym RAPID? And I will spit them out because it's who I am authentically. Okay. Now, you also have to do a consistency check. How do you do that? You hold yourself to the same ethical standards that you do publicly that you also exhibit when you're in private. Okay. You should be on one accord with yourself at all times. You shouldn't be so mismatched that people don't know who you are or which version of you is your authentic self, your public or your private, because they're so misaligned and on two different ends of the spectrum. You have to do a consistency check with yourself and ask yourself, are my ethical standards the same? Now, this is the part right here where I find that a lot of women struggle, and it's either because they don't have the people in their circle that can help them with this, or they're afraid of that accountability. And I call this the accountability circle. That means you are surrounding yourself with truth tellers, not just cheerleaders and encouragers and motivators. You are encouraging yourself with the people that will give you the truth straight, no chaser, but with compassion and love. But they will tell you the truth and not what you want or need to hear. I can tell you that I have a circle that it is so amazing. The women that I am surrounded with, I am so fortunate to have this circle of women in my life. So I don't have a deficit in that area. And I would encourage you that if you do, then start getting out more and connecting with women intentionally. Like, be proactive about it. Go in places where other positive women are and start to make some authentic connections with other women. You have to get outside of your cheerleading circle, okay? And find yourself some women that will be the voice of reason for you, that will tell you the truth no matter what, even if it hurts, because they're real friends. Now, does it take time to create those types of relationships? Absolutely. And the women that are in my circle span from a few years to almost 40 years. And again, like I said earlier, I've been fortunate to cultivate those types of relationships. But I encourage you to start if you don't have it. Challenge yourself to open yourself up, okay? Challenge yourself. Now, talking about challenges, this is what I want you to do. I want you to pick just one area of your life where your public and private selves don't fully match. And then I want you to take just one small step to bring them closer into alignment as best you can. And then you can work on it periodically. Okay. If you can bring it into total alignment, go for the gusto, bring it into total alignment. But if you're the type of person where you need to have short victories and small wins and you need to take baby steps, then take your baby step. Okay. Maybe it's a boundary you've been avoiding setting for yourself. Maybe it's an apology that you need to make to someone. Maybe it's finally simply admitting to yourself that you need help in a certain area. Whatever it is, write it down, own it, and act on it. Okay? Write it down, own it, and act on it. Now, I want to give you some closing thoughts. Dr. Pam, we're closing already? Yes, because this is just a sample of the curriculum. I wanted to give you a taste into the curriculum. I have answered the call. You guys have asked me for a program that can help you to heal from your adverse childhood experiences, to identify your ACEs, to have some trauma informed care training that combined leadership with your trauma informed practices. Well, here you go. This is what this is all about. I want you to experience yourself. I want you to go on a journey with yourself and for yourself, but not by yourself. Okay. And I want you to be able to extend grace to yourself because you did not get this way overnight. You are not going to change overnight. But with that being said, remember this, and I've been telling you this every time I talk to you, every time I'm in your presence, every time you're at a training, every time you hear me talk to you on the telephone or in a coaching session, you hear me say to you to remember that you have the power to control how your life, your trauma, your experiences, your ups, your downs, all of it. You need all of it. How your experiences show up in your life. You have the power to control that. You have the power to control how you respond to it, how it impacts you, and how much power you give it over your behavior, your character, your conduct, your communication, your relationships. You have the power to control that. Okay. So if it's something that you're not experiencing anymore, it's not in your right now o'clock current life, then I want you to begin to detach from those behaviors and those emotions because you have so much life in front of you and you are closer to your future than you are to your past, that I want you to start living in your present. Okay. Your presence. I want you to start owning where you are right now. So that means you're going to have to identify those things that you don't need on this leg of the journey. You don't need it. It's from the past. You're not experiencing it anymore. So let's get rid of those negative emotions. And remember, you have the power to control. You know the rest. Okay. Let's get rid of those negative things and make space for the new and refreshing things that we're looking forward to. But if we're so bogged down with all of these negative things from the past, we won't have the capacity or the energy to be able to explore and entertain and enjoy what life is trying to bring to us now. Okay. So I'm going to remind you of that with every single engagement. Your outer world will always tell on your inner world. Your outer world will always tell on your inner world. If you are not on one accord with yourself and you are behaving in a misaligned manner, sooner or later, the real you will have to show up because the representative just isn't that good. It cannot carry it out for an extended period of time. Okay. And the greatest leadership legacy that you can leave is a life so integrated that the person people meet in the boardroom is the same person they meet in your living room, and they'll be happy to meet you. That's the person that people want to meet. Okay. So your wholeness does not need to be perfection. It simply needs to be authentic. And your alignment is how you walk it out every single day of your life. Okay. I hope you've enjoyed this segment. It's all we have time for today. But if you reach out and connect with me on social media at I am Dr. Pamela, or if you hashtag me, hashtag I am Dr. Pamela, or if you contact me by email or telephone, we can continue our conversation. I am your C-suite executive coach, Dr. Pamala Brown-Grinion, President and CEO of Totally Unique Educational Consultants, And I am waiting to go on this authentic journey with you. So remember to create your totally unique day on purpose.